Today we're exploring genius ways to use fabric and Mod Podge to create high-end home decor. I hope you enjoy! For this project, I'm using a fat quarter. I believe this one came from Hobby Lobby. It has these beautiful butterflies on it. I'm going to cut it down to about 9 inches by 10 inches. And then I'm going to set this on my heating mat to make sure that I can remove all of the wrinkles and all of the creases from where it was packaged. Once I go over the front side, I will flip it over and iron the back side as well. For this particular method that I'm going to be using, I need to make sure that it doesn't have any wrinkles or creases. Then I'm going to lay this out on a piece of wax paper, and you will need a generous amount of Mod Podge. Starting on one side and working my way to the end, and then going to the other side and working my way in the opposite direction, I'm going to make sure that I completely cover the whole front side of this piece of fabric. And you'll want to allow it to completely dry. Then peel away the wax paper, and I'm just going to reuse my wax paper. I'm sitting this on a silicone mat. So I just flipped it over, and now I'm going to repeat that process on the back side of the fabric, adding a very generous amount of Mod Podge and making sure that I spread it all the way across. This is really going to prevent the threads from coming apart when we cut this piece. Now let that completely dry. I have a cotton drawstring bag. I'm going to set this on my heating mat, and this one measures about 13 inches by 13 inches. It's what my Cricut heat press came in. But I think this would be really perfect on a tote bag. I didn't have a tote bag, so I thought I would show you guys this method on this bag. I need it to also be wrinkle-free, so I am going to iron it on one side, flip it over, and iron it on the opposite side. This is very, very important that you don't have any wrinkles in it. Now that the Mod Podge is dry, we're going to peel that away from the wax paper, and I'm going to set this on my cutting mat. Now I need to make sure that I start off with a straight edge. So I am using a ruler and one of Dollar Tree's rotary cutters. I really need to get a really good rotary cutter because I had to cut this fabric twice every time just to get it to cut. But that's why we Mod Podged it. Look, it has no frayed threads coming off of it. So now we're going to take that straight edge, line it up, and I'm going to cut mine at 9 inches. And then I need to make another straight edge on the opposite side. And once I get that cut, I'm going to take that straight edge, line it up, and cut it to 8 inches. So mine's going to be 8 inches wide and 9 inches long. I want to take that 8-inch width, and I want to cut this into 2-inch strips. I want 4 2-inch strips. And this is why it was very important that I Mod Podged it beforehand so that none of the threads would come apart, and these would be perfectly straight pieces. So if you recreate something similar, just make your fabric the size of the type of bag that you're putting yours on. So once I'm done, I'm going to have 4 2-inch wide, 9-inch long strips. Cut a piece of wax paper that will fit perfectly inside of the bag. This is very important because once we add Mod Podge, we don't want to seal the bag together. So once you have that nice and flat on the inside, we're going to turn it around, get our Mod Podge, and you're going to need a generous amount of Mod Podge as well as a clean paintbrush. Then we can pull our fabric pieces down, line them up. I want a little bit of space between each one of mine, and then I'm going to make sure that I have it centered on my bag. Then I'm going to start on the right hand side. I'm going to flip that strip over, apply a very generous amount of Mod Podge to the back side of the fabric. I do not have fabric Mod Podge. I do believe they make that, but I'm just using a regular matte Mod Podge for this because I don't plan on putting this bag in the washing machine. I can just wipe it off. Once I have that completely covered in Mod Podge, I can flip it over, line it up, and then press it down firmly, making sure I press all of the edges and that there's no kind of air bubbles underneath. I'm going to repeat that process with the other 3 strips. Just to make sure everything is flat, I am going to go over this with my roller. And then to make sure that it was really adhered to this bag, I'm going to take my heating mat, leave that wax paper in there. I'm just going to set the heating mat underneath the wax paper. That way it can protect the mat when it heats up this Mod Podge again, because I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper to sit on top of it, and then I'm just going to take my iron and run it over each one of those strips just to kind of heat up that Mod Podge and make sure that it did completely adhere to the bag. Then I'm going to let that cool down and remove my mat and wax paper. Now I just love this design. It's so pretty. And this is somewhat flexible. I mean, it will bend a little bit, but that's why I think it would be really perfect on a tote bag. But I can still close that drawstring at the top, and I just love how this project turned out. For this project, I'm using a wood panel. You can find this at Dollar General. This one, the outside measurements are roughly 8 inches square, but I do need an exact measurement on the inside, and it is a little less than 6 inches square. I do not want to paint the bottom inside of this wood panel, so I'm going to take some painter's tape, go around and tape that up, because what I'm going to be painting it with is going to be pretty runny. I'm going to take some water and some brown acrylic paint, and I think my brown paint is like called bark brown. I'm going to mix that up very thoroughly once I get that little dried piece of paint out of there. Once I have that mixed up, I'm going to start on the back side of the panel. This is going to create a little bit of a stained color. I do have antique wax, and I love the color of that. But when you are working with some wood pieces that have been glued together, that antique wax will not cover up the wood glue. So I just took some paint and kind of created my own stain because I wanted it to be pretty much of a light color. I'm going to go around all of the outside edges, the top, and then the inside edges. I'm going to paint everything except for the inside bottom of this panel, and then let that completely dry. I have this fat quarter bundle that has some beautiful neutral colors in it. This came from Walmart, so if you are looking for fabric bundles, make sure to check them out. They have a variety of different colored fabrics. This one, like I said, is pretty neutral, so it's all gray and white. And the piece that I chose for this project is this beautiful little striped dotted line design. Now I am going to go ahead and cut it down a little bit larger than what I needed just because I'm on camera, just so you guys can see better. And then I'm going to use my ruler and my rotary cutter to make sure that I cut this perfectly to fit inside of that panel. And mine was like maybe one line less than 6 inches square. Now that the paint mixture is dry, I can go ahead and remove that painter's tape, and I'm just using my little Cricut weeding tool to help me get that up. Now if I were to recreate this again, I would paint that bottom panel white because my fabric is white. It will give it a brighter background and really help the design of the fabric stick out. I still love the way the project turns out. I just think that it would have been brighter if I painted it white. Now here I'm just adding a layer of Mod Podge, a nice thick, even layer to that inside bottom panel, making sure that I spread it all the way to the edges. I've already dry fit my fabric square, so I know it's going to fit perfectly. I'm just going to fold it in half so I can line that top part up with the corners. Press that down and make sure that it adheres to that Mod Podge. And then as I pull the fabric down, I'm going to push it, just trying to keep any kind of air bubbles or wrinkles out. Once I have that completely pressed in, I'm going to take some more Mod Podge to go over top of the fabric. I like to start on one side in the center, and using my brush strokes go in one direction. So I'm just going up, lifting the brush, coming back down, going up. This is going to push any kind of air to the edge, And then I can go over those edges and make sure that I have the Mod Podge sealed up there. Then I'll go to the bottom half and do the same thing. So if there's any kind of air under there, I'm going to push that all the way to the bottom, and then I can go over the edge at the bottom with my Mod Podge. Then I'm going to set that to the side and let that completely dry. Dollar Tree carries these wood tassel wall decor pieces. I'm going to use this design. I'm going to remove the tassels from the back, and then very carefully using my staple lifter, remove those tiny little staples without breaking it, because this is MDF and it'll kind of break pretty easy, but I need it to be flat so that I can add some hot glue, or you could use some super glue to the back side of it and put this in the center of the sign. Before we start our next project, I just want to say I was having so much fun adding fabric and Mod Podge to things and creating projects that I'm not going to be able to fit them all in this one video. So make sure you come back next week, because I'm going to see how many projects I can make using this one fat quarter from Walmart. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now let's get started on project number 3. For this project, I found this piece in the Dollar Tree Plus section. It's a Lazy Susan, and it was only $5. Dollar Tree really does like to put a lot of stickers on their products, because not only were they all over the back, they had some on the front, and they were pretty stubborn. So I had to use my hairdryer to heat them up, and then a little scraping tool. And I'm always scared I'm going to damage the piece just trying to get the little labels off. Now this piece is pretty just as it is, but I'm going to apply some white acrylic paint, not only to cover up the design that's on it, but also to give me a light color base for my fabric. And this was so fun to paint. You could just spin it around and paint the other side. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can find some really pretty fabric in Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. I had it narrowed down to these 2 pieces that I've had in my craft room for a while, and I wasn't quite sure which one I wanted to use for this project. The black one has some cute farm animals on it, but the white one has some of the cutest kitchen designs on it, and I think this will be perfect for my Lazy Susan. But first, I need to set this on my heating mat so that I can iron it and make sure that I get all of the creases and wrinkles out. I need this to be as flat as possible. Now that the paint is completely dry, I'm going to pull the fabric over top of the Lazy Susan and center up my design. Then very carefully flip this over to the back side, making sure that I pull the fabric very tightly and that it is flat underneath. Then I'm going to take a fine tip Sharpie and draw a circle around the outside of the Lazy Susan, but I'm going to have that about 1 inch to 1.5 inches larger because I need some of this extra fabric. Then I can cut this out with my scissors. Now it's time to add a thick layer of Mod Podge to the top of this. And you guys, this was a brand new brush. I just took it out of the pack and it fell apart. I had to put some hot glue in there just to stick the handle back in there. You guys let me know if this has ever happened to you before. But I continue to go ahead and add that Mod Podge all over the top, making sure I bring it all the way to the edges. And I am also doing all of the outside edges. That's why I wanted my fabric to be larger, because I want to wrap the edges and also attach it to the back side of this Lazy Susan. I'm going to take my fabric and kind of fold it in half, try to get that halfway point in the center of the Lazy Susan, and then just press my fabric down, working from the center outwards, trying to make sure that it's nice and flat and I don't have any wrinkles in there. Then I'm going to very carefully turn it over to the back side, and then you want to add a generous amount of Mod Podge to the bottom of the Lazy Susan. Then pull your edge pieces up, and then you'll just create like little pleats on the back just by folding it over and pushing it into that Mod Podge. I'm going to do this in small sections at a time, making sure that I pull it very tightly so it's nice and tight on the outside edges, and that I have all of the fabric adhere to the back of the Lazy Susan. Once I have that done, I am going to take a generous amount of Mod Podge and apply that into each of those pleats and pushing the fabric to the very edge. You'll want to do this around the entire back part, making sure that all of the fabric is adhered to the bottom of the Lazy Susan. Then you can flip it back over, and it is time to add the Mod Podge to the top. I'm going to start again in the center and work my way out to make sure that I get every single section of this fabric covered in Mod Podge. This is really going to help me to seal it in, and I'll be able to wipe it down. Then you'll want to allow that to dry. Now I did allow mine to dry overnight before I used it. I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and if you have a favorite, please let me know in the comments section down below, because I always love to know which one is your favorite. Don't forget to come back next week to see some more fabric home decor DIYs. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.